Hello everyone, it's Maha. Welcome back to my channel. So today's video is a response to a question which I was asked when I did my Q&A video, two-part videos, by a very good friend of mine here on YouTube from Space Between the Notes, his channel name, and he asked me a really great question which I originally wanted to make a video just talking about the subject. So I therefore decided to do a separate video altogether for this question. And his question was, how has the study of astrology impacted the way you read tarot or the way you read the cards? So I thought this was a very important question, not only because I am doing an ongoing series on my channel on tarot and astrology, but also because I have gained so much richness from my study of both astrology and tarot, using them in conjunction. Both in my practice with my clients, working with them, and also my own personal work and practice, and also just beginning to learn and really understand tarot. Astrology was tremendously helpful for me. So I want to talk about this, and I also want to give some examples of some readings that I've done with people, and just to demonstrate how this has helped me. So to begin with, I think that both tarot and astrology are languages drawn on symbols. The tarot system itself is full of symbols, and astrology is a language of symbols and metaphors, using the sky as a source of inspiration. And I think that these two really flow well together. If you are someone who's been studying tarot, you know that tarot cards have astrological correspondences to planets and to signs and planets in signs. And I find that tarot provides a visual language, full of images. So it provides imagery to astrology. In a way, astrology is missing that visual imagery, and I am a very visual person, so the study of tarot and understanding tarot has helped me with astrology, and vice versa. Astrology, understanding astrology, knowing how the planets and signs and houses describe certain energies, understanding archetypes in astrology has helped me so much with just being able to see the energies and the energy dynamics in each card and also in spreads. When I was first learning tarot, like many people, learning the meanings of the tarot court cards was really hard for me to grasp. And honestly, if it wasn't for astrology, I wouldn't have really gotten it the way I did, in a really fluid way. Because when you understand signs as personalities, it really helps you to see the court cards as personalities and the energies that play within them. So, for example, when you understand that Scorpio is a fixed water sign, it's very intensely emotional, likes to be in control of emotions, is in control of flowing emotions and intense emotions, then you can see that the King of Cups really describes that intensity of Scorpio. I mean, just looking at this card from the RWS, the eyes are so intense, and he's sitting on his throne on top of all these crashing waves. So I always thought of this card as Scorpio. Sometimes in certain tarot decks and certain authors attribute different signs to the court cards, so they're not always the same. And I will talk about that when I do my video on tarot astrology court cards. So here I just wanted to show you as an example. For me, this is Scorpio. Very intense, in control of all these crashing waves. Like there's all this intensity going on around him, yet he is in full control and he's a very intense person. So, I mean, that's just very brief, but you kind of get the idea. And then if you think of Pisces, for example, once you understand the energy of Pisces, once you know that it's a mutable water sign, it's very spiritual, very romantic, very gentle, artistic, then you might think of the Knight of Cups. And here, this is the Knight of Cups, represent one of my favorite representations from the Wizard's Tarot. And so I see him as really this romantic young man holding the cup. You know, just kind of, there's an innocence in the Knight of Cups. Very spiritual, very romantic, I think fantasy, big imagination. And I love how he's in the ocean here. He's right in the ocean, the depth of the imagination. So it really helped me. Understanding signs in astrology really helped me to get the core essence of the court cards. And also in doing readings, you know, I believe that the more I can add to my toolkit, to my language of tarot from different sources, the more I can bring that to my readings, the more that enriches my readings for my clients as well as for myself. So sometimes I might not get why a certain card is showing up just from having studied tarot from tarot books, but then having this other set of vocabulary gained from astrology in relation to that card can help me just draw upon more information. You know, so in a way I feel that it expands my intuition as well. It gives me a more sense of a holistic understanding and the depth of understanding of each card and the energies of the card. Because really I see everything as energy, and I see the cards as energies. Astrology itself is, in a way, metaphor for energies, the way we interact with each other, the way our personalities are. So I really love getting, you know, the interconnectedness between studies. So that's just personally one of my passions, is to find the relationship between tarot and astrology, see if it can help me find more meaning, more understanding, and vice versa. Like I remember when I was first learning one of my very, very beginner classes in astrology, my teacher was talking about the archetype of Venus and also Neptune. And she was just talking about this and talking about how Venus, the goddess of love, and Neptune are connected in a way that they both represent love. Neptune is in esoteric astrology, Neptune is the higher octave of Venus. So Neptune, thinking about Neptune being a higher octave of Venus, I remember I was listening to her and suddenly I started seeing images from tarot pop up. And I had the specific two images from, again, the Wizard's Tarot, the King of Cups and the Queen of Cups. That just popped up in my mind. King of Cups as very similar to that Poseidon energy. Look at the intensity in his eyes, so intense. And then the Queen of Cups. And then as she was talking, and look at her, she just so beautiful, looking at her pearls, looking down. So to me, Venus goddess like, especially with the Atlantis in the background and sculptures. And I just as she was talking, I just saw these two images. And I remember I said to her, well, I see, as you're talking, suddenly I see Neptune as the king of the ocean, and then Venus as the queen of the ocean. I thought about the Queen of Cups and the King of Cups in this deck, and I made that connection. And my teacher thought that was quite beautiful. And it just came intuitively, you know. So again, that like expanding your language, expanding your your language of symbols and your imagination can only help with your readings. That's what I find. So I want to talk about one example when I first started reading tarot, long time ago, when I was still quite a beginner, but I had sort of an understanding of astrology. And I remember I was using this deck that was I was at my brother's house, and he had a bunch of friends, and my brother-in-law was there, and he came up to me and said, hey, let's do a reading for me. And at that point, I still hadn't done a reading for anybody but myself before, so it was the first time I ever did a reading for anyone else. And the deck that was there, it happened to be my brother's deck. My brother had a deck, and he was gifted this deck. And I'd never seen this deck, I wasn't familiar with it at all. I don't remember the name of the deck now, but I was just looking at it, and I thought, okay, so this is an opportunity for me to do a reading totally spontaneously, and using a deck that I'm really not familiar with. And then I remember I pulled 3 cards, and my focus went on the Justice card. I had pulled the Justice card, and my focus just went on it. And at the same time, though, I didn't really know how, just drawing upon my studies of tarot, I didn't really know how to fit the Justice card to the meaning of the rest of the cards, the other 2 cards. And so I was kind of stuck, kind of thinking, like, how does all the meanings all the associations that I know about Justice, how does that relate to this reading? So I intuitively thought, I'm just going to rely on my astrology knowledge, because I know that Justice is Libra. So I started talking about the different meanings and interpretations of Libra. I started talking about relationships. Relationships was strong, it was really popping out. If it hadn't been for astrology, if it hadn't been for the fact that I knew Justice was related to Libra, I would have never even mentioned relationships, or I would have not gone that path, So my focus would have been mostly on just the standard meanings of the Justice card according to tarot, my tarot studies. But I focused on that relationship aspect of Libra. I focused on the air sign, so planet of the Venus being about relating, and then Libra, the sign of air, the mind. And then I talked about conflict, maybe balancing conflict. I thought about Libra as balance, and I thought how I connected it with the image of Justice, where she's holding a balance in her hand. So I just started talking about Libra more, not Libra, but the meanings of Libra. And wow, the richness of that meaning, everybody, of that reading, it was amazing. I remember my brother-in-law started talking, that really, it really struck a chord in him. He started talking about this relationship with a best friend of his that was going bad. And, he didn't know what to do about it. And he was kind of at a point where he didn't want to continue friendship and wasn't sure what to do. And so it just opened up a new door, I would not have said that had it not been for the meaning of the sign of Libra and my association with Justice card and Libra. So you know what I mean? It took my reading further. It took it to a whole new level, actually, because it turned out to be a deeply meaningful and emotional reading for him. So that's just one example. And also, just recently, I did a reading for a woman, and I drew a bunch of cards, but the Devil card came up, and I suddenly just felt guided to focus on the meanings of the Devil card in relation to astrology. It's like your intuition begins to speak when you don't plan it, right? And the more you know, the more you've seen, the more you've experienced, the more you've learned, you just have more to draw upon. So at that moment, I felt that, no. The Devil card in this reading, in this particular reading for this particular person, is not about attachment. It's not about bondage. It's not about anything else that that shows on the card, but actually it's more about Saturn. It's more about Capricorn. I made that connection to Capricorn, the devil card, and Saturn, and I started talking about discipline, commitments, hard work, putting your nose to the grindstone, being practical, being realistic. I focused on that, and that opened up a whole new door, and a bunch of windows opened up, and I could just see that it's really resonating with her. It's really clicking with her. So yeah, those are just two examples to demonstrate how much knowing astrology has helped me when I'm reading the cards. So it almost it almost allows me to be guided or get guidance from spirit in a more expansive way. It ameliorates my vocabulary. It expands my knowledge of the archetypes that are going on around me all the time, the energies, and it's just been really helpful and really practical. And again, like I demonstrated with that example of Neptune as a higher octave of Venus, it also helps with astrology, because I remember I took a seminar with Juliet Sharman-Burke when I was at MISPA, my school, and she's the creator of the Mythic Tarot and the Sharman-Castelli Tarot deck, and she's a psychological astrologer, and she works with tarot when she's working with her clients, and she finds it very helpful. And she said, in her own words, she said that tarot provides a visual language for astrology that's missing. And I mean, of course, it's not, the visual language for astrology is not totally missing, because we can draw upon myths and we can, have images for that and constellations. But tarot is, like we know, very visual. And it just works. The symbols work with speaking to the soul. We're speaking on a soul level. We're speaking to the intuition. And so that's how I found it very useful and very helpful. And I also find that the more I get acquainted with, the more and more I learn about tarot and astrology, the more I can use them in conjunction. So when I look at a chart, for example, if I look at a birth chart, I just automatically see which cards in tarot can I see in the chart. And then I put those aside in my mind, and as I do the reading, I keep that in mind, and it really helps me. Tarot that way really helps me when I'm doing my birth chart or natal chart readings. So for example, if I see somebody has Venus in Taurus, automatically I think of the Empress. And so as I'm looking at the chart, I keep in mind this Empress quality within the psyche of the person that I'm doing the reading for. Or if I see Saturn on the ascendant, I'll pick the World card, and I'll automatically, think about the sense of this need for the need for mastery, discipline, commitment, practical, realistic thinking. It's a whole array of words, keywords that you just add to your knowledge when you can speak the language of astrology. And honestly, if I didn't do it this way, I wouldn't do it at all. I just can't see it any other way. For me, astrology and tarot, they're just amazing together. Amazing as teaching tools, learning tools, providing service for others, help for others, helping my imagination, helping my intuition, my understanding of symbols, even helping me with my dreams, helping me in my dreams. Not helping me with my dreams, but more helping me see more vividly while I'm dreaming. And that's a whole other very interesting topic. So thank you so much for your question. It was from Space Between the Notes. I don't know if I mentioned it in the beginning of the video, but thank you for your really amazing question, and thank you all for listening. I haven't, just so you know, haven't stopped making tarot and astrology videos. This is an ongoing series on my channel. I had a little bit of some technical difficulties, which is why it's taken me a while. I've paused a little bit on this role that I was on before, because I moved to a new place and things have changed and I've had some technical issues, but it's not over. They're not over. This is one of my biggest passions, and a commitment here that I've made to myself on my channel here. So it's ongoing, and I will it's always going to be near and dear to my heart, this tarot and astrology series. So thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'm sending you much love and many blessings, and see you in my next video. Bye.